Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into some really interesting sources analyzing football stats.
Yeah, and across quite different types of competitions, too.
Exactly. We've got the Euro U21 tournament, high-stakes stuff, and then, well, the second-tier leagues in Norway, the OBOS-ligaen, and Sweden's Superettan.
Right. Quite the contrast there.
So the mission really is to pull out what the numbers tell us actually, matters for predicting games in these different worlds.
Can you even use the same logic? That's the big question lurking in this data, I think.
It feels different, doesn't it? Predicting a one-off tournament game, neutral venue, versus a long league season.
Completely. That league rhythm, the home and away dynamic, it's just not the same environment.
Okay, so let's dig into the tournament side first then. The Euro U21s, what did the sources flag as being really key there?
Well, that kind of pressure cooker neutral venue setting, the analysis pointed towards things like tactical discipline.
Right, holding your shape.
Exactly. And individual players really stepping up when it counts. Plus, just building that momentum, getting on a roll through the knockout stages.
It's less about the long-haul form guide then.
Much less. More about performance right there in the moment.
And looking at the specifics, this is where it gets fascinating. The sources really zoom in on England U21's win.
Oh, yeah, that defensive record.
0 goals conceded the whole tournament. I mean, that's wild in knockout football.
It really is. It speaks volumes about how effective their tactical setup was, their defensive organization, just phenomenal statistically.
And you compare that, like the sources did, to Spain or Ukraine in the same tournament.
A different story there. Their success, according to the research, seemed to lean more on, well, strong attacking play.
Scoring goals, individual flair up front.
Precisely. So you see, tournament success wasn't really about their club form, home or away. It was about their identity in the tournament under that specific pressure.
Okay, let's pivot then. Shift gears completely to the leagues Norway's OBOS-ligaen, Sweden's Superettan. What's the picture according to this research?
Well, here the data paints a very different picture, almost the opposite in some ways.
How so?
In these leagues, the analysis shows performance is just consistently heavily influenced by established home and away form.
So home advantage isn't just a cliche.
Not in these leagues, based on this data. It's described as pervasive, often the deciding factor. Makes a lot of games quite predictable, actually.
And the sources gave examples, right? I remember seeing things like Sogndal playing at home against Ranheim away.
Yeah, or Itzigton's BK at home versus Helsingborg's IF away in Sweden. Classic scenarios highlighted in the analysis.
So what typically happens in those matchups, according to the numbers?
Well, what stands out is how often you get that clear dynamic. A team that's really solid at home, maybe scoring plenty, up against a team that just, struggles badly on their travels.
Leaky defense away from home.
Exactly. Conceding a lot. And that specific mismatch, strong home attack versus weak away defense, the data suggests it frequently points to a home win.
Makes sense.
And not just a home win, but often leaning toward over 2.5 goals as well, simply because of that offensive versus defensive imbalance.
But, okay, what about when that pattern flips? The sources mentioned this too, didn't they? A team weak at home against a surprisingly good away side.
Yeah, good point. The research did cover that. It flagged examples like GIF Sundsvall having a poor home run facing Trelleborg's FF, who are actually strong away.
So the usual home advantage rule doesn't apply then?
In those specific cases, the data suggested that the current venue-specific form, Trelleborg's strong away results, could actually trump the general home field expectation. So, yeah, an away win looked more likely there.
Interesting. So if you put all this together, comparing the tournament versus these leagues, what's the big message coming out of the analysis?
I think it's crystal clear from these sources. You really can't use a one-size-fits-all analytical approach. It just doesn't work.
The success factors are just too different.
Fundamentally different. Tactical setup and individual brilliance under pressure might decide a tournament game. But over a league season, like in Norway or Sweden's second tier, it's that relentless grind of home and away form that seems to dominate, according to this data.
So applying a league prediction model to a tournament or vice versa.
And I could get it wrong.
Yeah.
You'd be focusing on the wrong things.
Which brings us to, why you should care about this. Understanding that context is crucial, right? It means you're using the right tools for the job when trying to figure out why one team might beat another.
Absolutely. Context is everything. This deep dive really shows that. The relative predictability we see in those Scandinavian leagues based heavily on home-away trends. It's just a world apart from the dynamics of a youth international tournament.
Different beasts entirely.
Complete.
So here's something to maybe chew on. If simple granular data like home versus away form can be such a powerful predictor in certain situations, what other complex scenarios out there might actually have surprisingly predictable patterns if we just manage to find and focus on the right specific details?